Hey, Sony, come over here for a second. I gotta ask you something real quick.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
You knew this movie was gonna suck. I knew this movie was gonna suck. Everyone knew that this movie was gonna suck. I've never even actually played Until Dawn, and even I knew that this didn't exactly look like Until Dawn. I was actually gonna play it to compare the two. I bought it, 70 euros by the way. Waited a whole entire day for it to install, but then PlayStation hit me with the, oh sorry, you actually need a PSN account to play this single player game on PC. So I said, f it, and uninstalled, refunded, you know, all the good stuff. So I'm not gonna be able to compare the game and the movie one to one. Now turning this into a movie should have been a slam dunk. Everything's already super cinematic, so just cut out some stuff, condense it a little bit, and ta-da! You got a movie. So the movie's good, right? I mean, there's no way they f***ed it up when the only thing they had to do was condense it down a little bit, right? So, the movie opens up with a random woman trying to escape a malnourished homeless guy. She escapes the nerf to go, but then a guy shows up with a pickaxe. The woman says that she can't die again, and I feel like this is gonna be important later. I think there's a word for that, right? I don't remember though. Whatever. The killer dude kills her again, and then we cut to our actual main characters. Clover and her friends Nina, Nina's boyfriend Abe, Megan, and Max. Nina is punk girl, that's her entire character. Abe is skeptic dude who actually has a functioning frontal lobe. Megan is the spiritual psychic girl because of course there's one of those. Max is a simp, and Clover is a black hole of personality. They're all insufferable. They all have a room temperature IQ, and they're also all just so annoying. They're constantly bitching and shitting on each other. Like, I get that you need some drama, but the only thing these guys have in common is drama. Anyways, they're on a road trip retracing the path of Clover's missing sister, Melanie. They end up at the rundown spooky gas station that Melanie was last seen at, and Megan suggests that they should do a ritual to feel Melanie's residual energy, whatever that means. Hold on. I think I'm also getting a signal from the astral plane. I think the spirits are trying to tell me something. They're telling me that in the near future, you're going to like and subscribe and maybe leave a comment too. Oh yeah, and also... yeah, so of course the movie falls into that really annoying category of horror movies that think that jump scares are the only real way of scaring the audience. And the worst part, they're not even good jump scares. So while the others are busy almost getting run over, Clover goes inside the crusty gas station to ask if they know anything. The shady guy working there seems to know more than he's letting on, because when Clover shows him a picture of her sister, he immediately knows that she's missing. Though that's just because a ton of people apparently go missing in Glore Valley, which is just down the road. And I'm sure that we won't see that shady guy again, and that'll have no further relevance to the plot in any way. Oh yeah, and the shady guy's played by Peter Stormare. You might recognize him for playing Dr. Hill in the game, but I mostly just recognize him for playing that Russian guy from the start of John Wick 2.
Pencil!
So, the gang drives through the storm to Galore Valley, but right as they're about to turn around, they end up in a clearing where the rain won't rain for some reason. They start exploring the nearby creepy shack. Nina finds Melanie's name in the guest book, while Abe finds a bunch of missing posters, including, guess who? That's right, Melanie. Meanwhile, Clover thinks she sees Melanie in the rain because she's stupid and will not accept that her sister's probably just dead. So, Clover, being a dumbass, is convinced that Melanie's gotta be here, but before they can start looking for her, somebody steals their car. Abe reasonably assumes that the guy that just stole their car is probably a psycho, especially because the guy is just f***ing with them, and the others decide to go find a landline or something, because there's no signal. So, of course, the first place they look is the creepy basement. Back upstairs, Abe hears a noise, so he goes to check it out alone, because again, everyone has a room temperature IQ. He, of course, gets f***ing murdered by the killer dude from the opening, who then also kills Nina, which... I'll give the movie this, the deaths are surprisingly gruesome. I'm not gonna lie, I was expecting them to be super tame, but no, we get a decent bit of gore. The others hear Nina getting violently murdered upstairs and hide, but Max, genius that he is, decides to try and smash a chair over the dude's head. The killer guy just tanks that shit though, and shish kebabs Max's eye. Then he notices that Megan's in the closet and just stands there for like a good minute, giving Clover a perfect opportunity to grab a convenient nearby knife. But instead of quickly grabbing the knife and rushing the dude, she slowly reaches out for the knife and then slowly retreats back into her terrible hiding spots. Seriously, how are you hidden? All he has to do is turn slightly to the left and you're f***ed, which is all the more reason to just rush the guy and stab him in the head. And yeah, he just tanked that chariot, but she doesn't know that. Anyways, because Clover's a dumbass, the killer dude helps Megan out of the closet. He then immediately murders her because he's homophobic. He also magically doesn't notice Clover, just stand there in the corner, which would give her a chance to escape, but again, she's an idiot, so she just stands there and basically lets her friend get murdered until she finally decides to try and stab the dude in the shoulder instead of the head. She unfortunately manages to run off into the woods because me, I guess, where she thinks that she sees Melanie again, but then she just gets killed by the killer dude who managed to catch up even though he's got Mr. X syndrome and is incapable of running. So now everyone's dead.
Yes! 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 Yes!
But then we loop back to the start of the night and everyone's alive again.
No! 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 Shit!
Yeah, that's right, it's a time loop movie. This is also the part where I reveal that the movie basically has nothing to do with the game, so I guess it doesn't really matter that I didn't play it. Everyone's understandably kind of freaked out. And then we get the best line in the movie.
I'm pretty sure we're f***ed, guys.
Abe has the smart idea of just getting the out of there before the killer comes back, but for some reason they don't do that. Instead, they get distracted by some poltergeist shenanigans. Megan gets possessed and starts saying a bunch of creepy shit before getting the General Zod treatment. Then something starts banging on the door. There's a ghost outside pretending to be Clover's sister, so of course Clover goes outside even though it's obviously not Melanie, and instead she's just pulled into the creepy house that's just appeared across the street. And the next couple scenes are a good example of how shitty the horror is, because even when they aren't shoving jump scares down every orifice on your body, that's not how you pronounce orifice. But even when it's not filled with jump scares, the horror still sucks because it's all just super predictable and cliche. Take a shot every time the movie does some cliche shit. You'll be dead before the credits. There's some creepy mannequins with creepy masks, and there's a creepy old woman doing creepy old woman things out of focus. She attacks Clover and says a bunch of random creepy old woman shit, and then she possesses Clover, and we get Black Eyes cliche. Like, everything is so predictable and cliche that I don't feel any tension, because I know exactly what's gonna happen. Meanwhile, Max wants to go save Clover, because again, simp. But Abe, apparently being the only character with even a modicum of brain cells, is like, hey, she just got magically dragged into that house. This place is let's go get some, actual help. Max, again, is a simp though, and goes after Clover while Abe and Nina scamper off to the car. They obviously don't get far though, cause duh, and just get killed by the killer dude. But we get some more cliches, and then possessed Clover kills Max, and then she gets run over by the killer dude.
Driving in my car right after a beer.
So they loop again and decide to hole up in the bathroom this time. They try to figure out how they're supposed to survive this, and Clover mentions how the witch told her that either you survive the night or become a part of it, and we then get probably the worst title drop ever.
So maybe if we can make it until dawn.
Yeah, the water that they drank makes you explode for some reason. I don't get why they drank the water in the first place, because look at it. That looks like it'll give you cholera and cancer. It looks like somebody shoved shit directly into the faucet. It looks like American tap water. Or Belgian tap water. So they all explode one by one, and the whole tone of this scene feels kind of weird. It's almost like the movie forgets it's supposed to be a horror movie and it suddenly tries to be like a dark comedy. It kind of reminds me of Tarot. Shameless plug. But at least that movie only had that issue at the end, while here, it's throughout the whole movie. I'm not saying that you can't have jokes in a horror movie. There's a couple funny lines in the movie, but you shouldn't start feeling like a comedy randomly. Now, before Clover explodes, somebody walks in and... What? It's the shady guy from the gas station? I could have never guessed that the shady guy that knew way too much and was also super shady was gonna turn out to be the bad guy. Anyways, they loop again and go down into the basement to try and figure out what the hell's going on here. And they discover that there used to be a town here, but it collapsed in a mining disaster. Probably not the smartest idea to put your mine under the town, but I'm not a mining expert. Clover finds one of those doctor ID card thingies, except it's from the shady guy because he's supposed to be Dr. Hill, the psychiatrist from the game. They also found a tape and pop it in the VCR. It's just a video of a dude turning into a Wendigo. Megan realizes that that's what's happening to them, and then Hill calls them over the radio to be like,
Now you're getting it.
he then tells them that to escape, one of them's gotta die, and obviously they're not gonna do that. Except for Abe, who's like, well, maybe we should think about it. And I hate when movies do stuff like this, when they have a character who's, you know, actually rational and not a complete fucking idiot, and then to make him seem like the bad guy, and to also try and make all of his very reasonable ideas seem unreasonable, they just make him a dick. Hill then tells Clover that he's got her sister, and if she wants to meet him, he's out in the woods waiting for her. So she runs off into the woods and immediately steps in a really fake-looking bear trap. Then she gets dragged into a dark, spooky hole. Meanwhile, Abe's still trying to convince everyone that they should just get out of there while they still have a chance. But Nina stabs him with a pickaxe for the crime of actually having a brain. So Max and Megan go out to save Clover while Nina stays with Abe to, I don't know, watch him bleed out, I guess. Max and Megan get chased by a Wendigo, and Megan ends up falling through the skylight of one of the houses that got buried in the mining disaster and dragged off by a Wendigo. By the way, why are these things even called Wendigos? They're not Wendigos, they're just malnourished rat guys. Although I do like that at least they're not CGI abominations. I'll give the movie some props for at least using a lot of practical effects. Anyways, Clover manages to crawl out of the dark evil hole and she's all bloody. Why? I don't know, we never learn what happened to her in that hole. It's like there's a deleted scene there or something. Max finds her, but so does Melanie, who's also a Wendigo now. Still would. Max manages to pull off the bear trap and catches Wendigo Melanie with it. They run off, but all their friends are dead, so they off themselves to save them. Because they're pussies. Then we get a random flashback to the last time Clover talked with Melanie. I don't get why they put this at this point in the movie. It's way too late to make me care about either of them because you gave Clover no personality other than I gotta find my sister. And I literally don't even know anything about Melanie. Then Clover wakes up and everyone realizes that they've forgotten a bunch of the nights, which is just the movie's excuse to ramp up the stakes because now they're on the final loop and if they die they'll become Wendigos. Also, Megan is missing. Then Abe randomly remembers that he recorded a bunch of stuff which hadn't even been established before this, but sure, I guess. And then we get a montage of random scary stuff that doesn't really matter. Although these scenes are probably the only time the movie even comes close to actually being creepy. Like here when they're just walking around Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria and then a random giant dude comes out of nowhere and starts sprinting at them. Or this clip where we just hear a bunch of sirens going off outside while the characters are yelling about how something's outside. And the clip ends with us not even seeing the thing outside, which to me is way creepier than anything else in the movie. But while I like this scene, it doesn't really matter, like at all. It just feels like they liked these ideas, but didn't know how to actually put them into the film, so they just lazily slapped them in there as some random found footage scene. The literal only important thing they learn is that Megan followed Hill into the creepy mine tunnels. Then the sirens start going off to announce that the whole gang's here, although I have no idea who these guys on the left are supposed to be. And the witch doesn't actually show up again after this, so I don't get what the point of this shot is. So the gang decides to take their chances in the tunnels, get chased by some Wendigos, and end up encountering the killer guy again. The others distract him so Clover can go save Megan, but she runs into Wendigo Melanie again. They have a really lame, big fat air quotes, fight. Though honestly, even calling it a fight at all is giving the movie way more credit than it deserves, because it's literally just Melanie knocking Clover over, Clover getting up and running up some random stairs that are there for some reason, while Melanie just stands there.
Menacingly!
Then she falls off the stairs, does the whole I know you're still in there thing, which obviously doesn't work, and then tackles Melanie onto a convenient spike sticking out of the ground. Though if Melanie's mind really is gone, then why does she just stand there while Clover's being like, I know you, this isn't you? If she's a fully transformed mindless Wendigo, wouldn't she just kill Clover? I'm not even gonna ask how she didn't also get stabbed by that spike. Okay, that last one was a nitpick, but the rest of the scene is still stupid as hell. Now, cut back to the others fighting the killer dude. Again, big air quotes around fighting. They managed to stun the dude by just breaking a chair and a vase over his head, even though earlier in the movie, Max broke a whole ass chair over the dude's head, and he didn't even flinch. Max hits him with an uppercut, which is just, first of all, weak-ass uppercut. Second of all, that's enough to knock this guy down. Earlier in the movie, he had the same resilience as Mr. X. But whatever. They smash the killer guy's head in with a sledgehammer, and then we cut back to Clover. She manages to avoid some more Wendigos, makes it into the underground asylum that Hill's using as a base, and finds Megan locked in one of the patient rooms with a very angry Wendigo. Alright, so I realized something while recording this, and that's that it doesn't make any sense that Megan is stuck in the asylum, because it's pretty clearly established that when all of them die, they all loop back to the start of the night, they all loop back to the exact moment that the loop started. So why didn't Megan loop back to the start of the night? Because I'm assuming that she's stuck in the asylum because she followed Hill, and then there's only two possibilities. Either she died, which means that she should have looped back to the start of the night, so she wouldn't be stuck in the asylum then, or she didn't die and she survived the night, in which case she should have just survived the night and all the others should be dead, because that's how it works, right? So why didn't she loop back? Clover goes off to the security office to find the key, which, man, I don't know why, but I'm suddenly getting PTSD. Hill walks in and starts doing some psychoanalysis on her, and he also reveals that all the monsters are actually representations of her mental problems, which is probably the dumbest thing in the entire movie. Because what the f*** does a random serial killer guy, a creepy witch, a bunch of Wendigos, and a big boy over there have to do with her mental issues? Like, it's already pretty dumb in most movies, but it's even dumber here because it doesn't even make any sense if you think about it for more than 5 seconds. And that's because I'm pretty sure they came up with the monsters first and then just shat out this dumbass shit to explain them away. The movie's kind of just falling apart at this point, so I just want to real quick mention, Hill sucks as a villain. Because, like, what does he even do besides just telling them to go to Glore Valley and say some cryptic shit? He doesn't seem to be in control of the monsters, he's not stopping them from leaving. Hell, you could argue he's actually helping them by giving them all these random cryptic hints. And I still don't even know why he's here. Like, he just kind of rambles on about psychiatry stuff, but the movie never actually explains why he's here. So basically, I'm just fucking confused what the point of him being here even is. I think the answer is to just shoehorn in some random connection to the game so they can say, no, see, this isn't Until Dawn thing. Because look, it's the guy from the video game. It's the guy from the video game. Yeah, but that doesn't really fix all the other issues, now does it? Which also, why did we learn all that stuff about the town and the mining disaster? It never comes up again, and we never learn anything more about the town, Hill, or why the loop even exists. And I wouldn't mind that they don't explain the time loop if they didn't throw all that random exposition at me earlier. Because what was even the point of any of that if it doesn't matter? Anyways, Clover shifts Hill's coffee cup over so that some of the explosion water drips into it. Hill then drinks the coffee and explodes. Clover grabs the key and gets Megan out of the cell right before the Wendigo eats her face, and they manage to escape the horde of Wendigos that just randomly shows up. I don't know, I guess they got the memo late. And then they get the fuck out of there, but of course you gotta have that last minute sequel bait. The footage on the monitors in Hill's office starts showing a snowy cabin as one last massive middle finger to any actual Until Dawn fans. You know, after this movie, I had the same feeling I had with Tarot. It's better than that pile of shit, but it's still not a good movie. It's got the same issues. The horror is either just jump scares or cliches. The characters are all annoying as The premise is cool, but they didn't do jack shit with it. Like, there's so much potential for cool, interesting stuff. But in the end, the time loop kinda just ends up being an excuse to give the characters massive plot armor. Not because they don't die, but just because their deaths don't matter until literally the last 15 minutes of the movie. At which point, yeah, of course they're not gonna die. But it's not the worst movie ever, and if you have literally nothing else to watch and you're drunk, you might actually kinda enjoy it. Alright, but the main thing, the thing that I'm still so fucking confused about, is why they decide to go this route instead of just actually adapting the game. Like, I thought we figured out that this is a really dumb way to adapt the game. So, right, I did some research, and by research I mean I watched one interview in this preview thing that the writer and director did. Now, one of the reasons that the writer and director gave for changing the plot like this is to try and recreate the whole player choice aspect of the game, which, first off, doesn't really explain why you changed everything about the plot. I kinda get why it's a time loop now, but why did you make the movie a completely unrelated thing? It's also just kind of a dumb reason to change things anyway, because you didn't recreate the player choice part because this is a movie. You can't do that in a movie unless it's like that one weird Black Mirror movie on Netflix. And they also said that they didn't just want to make a straight up adaptation, so they made it more like a sequel or spin-off to expand the universe, which also doesn't really make sense because the movie just contradicts what's in the game. The Wendigos weren't the result of a time loop in the game, you turn into one if you do cannibalism. Also, Dr. Hill wasn't real in the game, he was just a hallucination, I'm pretty sure. So why is he here? Also, the ending of the movie implies that the events of the game haven't happened yet, so how's this supposed to be a sequel? But so basically, I think they just wanted to do their own thing, but then Sony just slapped Until Dawn on it anyways to try and milk some extra cash out of it. So yeah, I don't know how to end this shit. Anyways, they're on a road trip, sweet Jesus. It's gonna be one of those days.